Today on Mid-Missouri Art News, Miss Karen Haslag will share with us what is happening in her world of calligraphy skills and more. Welcome to JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News, supported by many art enthusiasts now worldwide, coming to you from the capital city of Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick Jey. Well, please join me if you would, welcoming calligraphy expert Karen Haslag of Jefferson City, Missouri, to JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News.
Thank you, Rick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. Well, Karen, I've been looking for this opportunity for a while, meeting you for the Jefferson City Art Club Fling Social, celebrating the 116th year. So I've been looking forward to this since the last November of 2019. If I might call you by your first name, please, if you would, share with us and the viewers a little bit about Karen Haslag.
Thank you, Rick. My lifelong love has been art and music. My passion has been organ playing since I was 11 years old, and I've been imitating people's handwriting since I was in the 3rd grade.
Excellent.
Through high school, I was given a set of speedball pens with a ancient speedball book. I had the classic bottle of India ink, and I practiced fervently.
Excellent.
When I went to college, I was a music major and chose to have a fine arts minor with an emphasis in art. And of course, my art was calligraphy. The first chance I had to take a class was the major turning point in my life. My teacher was handling our italic with systematic lessons in design, and she really laid a groundwork for me to understand the value of disciplined practice.
And what level of education was this first inspiration at school? What level? 1st grade, 3rd grade?
Oh, I loved doing art and music as a child. Anything related to it, creative drama, plays, all through, it's all I can remember.
Yes. Now, while we're on that, we have a lot to talk about, especially in the second half of the show. This piece behind you to your right, now it is designed, you told me, for students learning a certain song, your calligraphy pointing out those phrases, and that was to a major music symphony piece. Can you explain this beautiful calligraphy piece behind you?
The words on this banner come from a song for group choir, and it's aimed at middle to junior high students, which speak and sing of words from throughout the world. And as you can see, Unidad is unity in Chile. Shalom means peace, hello or goodbye in Israel.
Yes.
Salam is peace in Ethiopia. So the children were learning to recite, pronounce, and understand words from world cultures. And their eventual performance was to sing it entirely from memory, with percussion, keyboard, and guitar. However, this was just a drop in the bucket. There were 3 sheets longer than this with more words from every imaginable country, including Germany, Italy, the Philippines, and so on. Well, to make it easy for them to sing and learn them, my music part of the room was just bannered off, so to speak,
see.
with this colorful display. And it's a classic italic, done with a large pen and ink that I actually just made by taking some thick tempera and adding water and making it very bright for the children.
Excellent.
So the
Now,
love of music and art going together has just been a
that was my
constant
next
stream.
point. I always combine music and art that seem like they go together. And not only is the inspiration or the complement of the music, the complement of the artwork seems to be married, whether you're actually doing the art piece or just enjoying a little bit of music behind that piece, just as we're talking would be beautiful. So that's what I was getting at. Now, can you share with us, if you feel okay with that, where you were born, raised, family makeup, a little bit of deeper look at how that life began for Karen Haslag.
I was born here in Jefferson City, and I went to college at Mount St. Scholastica in Atchison, Kansas, and that was where I took my first formal calligraphy class. But I grew up in a very artistic and musical environment. I have a first cousin, for example, Leroy Haslag, who was a very prominent sign painter here in Jefferson City and Central Missouri, as well as being the lead fiddler on the Lee Mace Ozark Opry, which old-timers remember.
Yes.
I have a step-uncle who was trained in art at the Chicago Art Institute, and he was a significant sign painter in Alton, Illinois, and I absolutely loved watching him make neon signs.
Oh my, that is an art in itself. Now, last week we visited with Lainey Frick, who was a sign painter. In other words, she loves to do featured art, but she definitely had to find a way to make a living. So have you, your art is basically a sign or bulletin board or board type presentations. Have you ever got into any artwork for billboards or lighting effects for a movie theater or a movie, what have you?
I think the most radical thing I've ever done was stand on a scaffold and paint a huge sign on what was the second story of the exterior of a building in San Francisco.
Oh my, I see.
So I'll have to backtrack. I moved to San Francisco after 2 years of teaching here in Jefferson City, music and art, of course. And I went to San Francisco to attend graduate school at San Francisco State University. My major was creative arts education, naturally bringing it all together. I've done a variety of projects for clients, which we may get into later on in terms of the more specific work that calligraphers do.
Yes, you'll explain that, please, in a second. Yes, we definitely need to know what do they actually do, you know. Well, now, I'd like to get back to the question, what was the main point of your inspiration? At what point, was it mother and father, or was you, someone come up to you and introduce you to that speedball pen with the ink, or was there a moment that you was really inspired to and knew you should be a calligraphy expert?
Okay. I knew for certain that calligraphy was my life when I was in college in my first formal class.
I see.
With my first teacher, Sister Helen Buning.
Oh, excellent.
That was established. When I moved to San Francisco, I was in a very fortunate position. The craft or art of calligraphy flourished in 3 major cities, beginning in 1974, New York City, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. I am very proud to be starting my 46th year as a member of the Friends of Calligraphy, which originated in San Francisco at that time. As soon as I got to San Francisco, I enrolled in a class at the University of California, Berkeley, in calligraphy with Georgiana Greenwood, who became the first founding president of the Friends of Calligraphy. We studied every alphabet from the Roman caps through history, the uncials, the humanist minuscule, italic, Gothic, everything that is major hand that a calligrapher would study. The next summer, I was getting ready to go back to my school because I had a full-time teaching job in San Francisco too.
I see.
And I went downtown and walked into the record store on Sutter Street, at that time, Odyssey Records, going into the 33 LP section.
Yes.
And I was wiped away by the signs I saw in the store and immediately raced to the front desk. Who did this lettering? And they said, well, his name is Alan Blackman and he works across the street. He's over there today doing signs at Flax, which was the major art store for art supplies and everything in downtown San Francisco. I went across, I introduced myself, I asked him if he taught people. And he said no, and then he looked at me and said, bring some of your work back in 2 weeks. I did.
Excellent.
And he stood in silence looking at it, invited me to have tea with him, and he immediately asked me to take over his job at Odyssey Records. And he became a friend for life. He is an internationally renowned calligrapher.
I see.
We all grew up together in San Francisco as friends.
Oh, super. My.
So that first 2 to 3 years in San Francisco was when I was exposed to leading calligraphers from the United States and Europe. We had, actually it was Donald Jackson, who was the scribe to the Queen of England, who was the impetus for starting these 3 societies in the United States.
Oh, I see.
He taught a workshop in Santa Cruz in the summer of 1974. I did not take the entire weekend workshop, but I did have permission to sit in for a while and watch. Anyway, and during that year later, then I was in the Friends of Calligraphy, and the group was off and running, starting programs for our regular exhibitions every 3 years, which I participate in. Their journal, called The Alphabet, is by far the finest publication on current calligraphy in the United States. I have an entire collection for 45 years. Another critical point for me in terms of teachers I had, if I may, in San Francisco, due to that, was in 1976, I applied to be in a class with a man named David Meckelberg in Southern California. In 1974, a favorite aunt of mine had given me a very colorful keepsake book with art in it, which had all been modernized and recreated with beautiful, interesting writing. And I was captivated by it. I had no idea that that was David Meckelberg who had done it. So 2 years later, I was in Santa Barbara with other calligraphers, spending a week with him. And that was a major influence on me. Okay. And then there's so many more, but
I can't name them all in
I wish I could.
Short 30 minutes. Well, Karen, we are at the time to take a break and share some interesting content with our viewers. So hang loose for a few seconds. When we come back, Karen shares more with us those many attributes that she has received from her well-known skills as a calligrapher. Stay with us. There's more right here on Mid-Missouri Art News.
Luke.
Welcome back. Our contestants reached the final round, where he's faced with 3 difficult choices. Behind curtain number 1, more alcohol than your body could ever survive. Behind curtain number 2, dangerous, mind-altering drugs. And behind curtain number 3, we have your family, your friends, and your self-respect. All right, Luke, what's it gonna be? Come on, Luke. Luke. Luke.
Luke! You want another beer?
Welcome back to Mid-Missouri Art News. Join me now as we continue our discussion with calligrapher Karen Haslag of Jefferson City, Missouri. Ms. Haslag, you shared a lot in the first segment, so much of a background, and it showed your foundation within your love of art and music and working with people. As a guest today, you somewhat represent the Jefferson City Art Club. So what does the Jefferson City Art Club mean to you?
Well, I'm very pleased to be a member. I'm new here in Jefferson City. My husband and I moved from San Francisco recently, and I find the friendliness of the members to be overwhelmingly beautiful. I'm so impressed with the variety and the skill and the expertise that I've seen when we've had meetings, when we've had the fling. Recently, I read through the show, the adult show that was at Capitol Arts.
The Adult Fine Arts exhibit?
Yes. And
right.
I unfortunately held back from going because of our COVID world.
Yes.
But it was just thoroughly impressive and exciting, the variety.
I know
And
I enjoy my membership. And speaking of Jefferson City Art Club, they have decided to reevaluate, naturally under the condition of COVID-19, they will reevaluate the 2021 programs, and our fling for the 2020 has been postponed. So we'll look forward to starting off new in 2021. Well, now let's get back to Karen and find out a little bit more. Can you share with us the process that you basically go through to complete a project, like A to Z or whatever? How would you?
First of all, there are two kinds of projects I would overall consider and separating them. One would be a client may have a project that's very straightforward, a certificate, a wedding announcement, a baby shower. It could be a poster, a program for a concert. These kinds of projects are planned according to, first of all, what the client wants, the content, the text, and then to organize the material so that it reads easily using appropriate calligraphic styles. Often we design work using typeface styles. It's important to plan it very carefully, draft it appropriately, have the client approve it, and have it ready, usually for printing.
Excellent. Now, what tools does this? I know you have to have a certain selection of paper to fit that occasion. So, what tools, ink, etc., that you basically use?
Okay.
What are your basics?
If it's a piece that's going to be used for reproduction, generally it would be done in black on white.
I see.
If there are going to be colors, color separation. Many people often request quotes or inspirational expressions, and those require an intuitive approach, being more conscious of how the person feels, of what is it that they want to do with it. Is it a gift? Is it for themselves, for their home? And to be able to put that into color or shape in space, to have contrast. For example, you might use a large Roman capital with smaller letters, or a brush swoosh, and then work with it, work with a creative, freely drawn line. I think capturing the feeling, finding the key words and phrases, how to make it come to life with colored energy of movement.
I see. Now, we're going to share with the viewers many examples of this, what you're speaking of, and so that's going to be really interesting to show our viewers exactly what this looks like, as she has described some of these techniques and tools that she's using. Well, what is then, could I ask, what is your favorite subject matter then?
Okay, I'd say I have 3 favorite subject matter, and one historically has been doing calligrams, which are shapes
Oh, I see.
filled in with letters. This has a historical precedent that goes back to about the 12th century, and I have done several, one in the shape of an orange for a Harvey Wallbanger drink mix.
Oh, I see.
Another in the shape of a lemon for a lemon meringue pie.
Oh, I see.
The first one I did was for a younger person, and it was a gingerbread recipe, but then it ended with patty cake, baker's man,
Oh, I see.
done in more childlike colors of blues, pinks, and yellows in the shape of a gingerbread.
Oh, excellent. And these ideas come to you in relationship to the object. Naturally, I love the one with the heart. The heart and the phrase there for people maybe that are needing a lift for on the Valentine's Day.
That particular heart was done for a group of children and teachers in a parochial school. So it was the phrase, heal the brokenhearted. And they actually had it on a huge piece of foam board, red, where it was broken.
Yes.
Heal the brokenhearted.
Right. Oh,
One other item I forgot to mention is being asked to do T-shirt designs where you have matching mugs, matching caps.
I see.
Those things are fun to do. Many people often will really not know what they want something to look like, so it's very interesting to bring what they want out of them and to be able to put it on
I see.
paper or on an object.
So you really dig in, and do you probably make a few examples for them to look at that might be tied in so they can pick and choose, I guess? You
Sometimes,
sit with
yes.
them in an interview, what have you?
Yeah, for the appropriate project.
Right. Now, you mentioned some people in the first segment. There's others I know that have influenced you along the way in some of these areas that you're speaking of. Are those, we don't want to leave them out. Would you like to mention others at this point that have really inspired you or give you some direction in your love of calligraphy and music?
I love working with a brush. And so 2 people that are important also besides Alan Blackman are Arthur Baker, who lived in the East Bay. I loved his brush work and first saw it in Berkeley written on the wall at the Egg Shop and Apple Press.
Oh, I see.
It was a long poem by a Spanish poet. Another is a woman from Germany named Hilla Basu. Her work is extremely colorful and imaginative, and I was able to take her for a day to the Pacific Ocean to get to know her very, very well.
Excellent.
Another person I'm very indebted to is Ian Rees of Wales, a master stone carver and calligrapher. I spent a week in Los Angeles working only on drawing the Roman alphabet under his guidance.
Excellent.
And these are particular experiences that I know I draw from in my work.
Now, you have traveled extensively, and some of those cities that you've gained inspiration and, shall we say, locked arms with.
Yeah.
Italy.
I have been to Italy, and I'll mention one thing. The Trajan inscription at the base of the Trajan column in the Roman Forum is the hallmark of the Roman alphabet, dated 114 AD. Another important travel point was seeing the Stations of the Cross the lettering carved by Eric Jey in Westminster. This is the Catholic Cathedral in London, because I'm very fond of the work of Eric Jey. Hermann Zopf, who was a calligrapher at Hallmark and is a renowned lettering and typographer from Germany. Father Edward Kadich was the master of the Roman alphabet.
What was his name again, please?
Reverend Edward Kadich did rubbings of the Trajan inscription, and the finest are in the Victorian Albert Museum and in the headquarters of R.R. Donnelly and Sons in Chicago. And we all have copies of his rubbings that were drawn out by people in San Francisco.
Well, Karen, do you have any planned exhibits where our viewers can see your work firsthand?
Yes, next summer I will have a piece in San Francisco in our Calligraphia exhibition, which is held every 3 years. I have a special piece which I named Willy Nilly, which was in it quite a while ago, which is in the permanent Richard Harrison collection in San Francisco. And the only other point I'd mention is working in color with gouache, with a steel nib, and producing pieces that are totally a rainbow effect, such as Psalm 148, about all the entire creation.
Oh, excellent, excellent. That sounds great. Well, I understand you have a hobby. Can you just briefly, we're running close on time, briefly, you're a collector of ceramics, I understand. Can you tell us a little bit about that and where that might go here in the near future?
For the last 45 years, I've collected quite an array of fine ceramic potteryware by American artists throughout travels in California. And I've recently donated them to the permanent collections of the Ashby Hodge Gallery of American Art in Fayette. And Dr. Joseph Geist, the founding curator, emailed me yesterday that he is going to feature them in part of the shows he has opening in mid-October.
In October, that's in Fayette, Missouri?
Yes, in Fayette.
Okay.
And the gallery is on the campus of Central Methodist University.
Wow, fantastic. That sounds awesome. Now, you do commission work, so can you give us a contact number where people can get a hold of you for if they have further questioning or if they need some work done for a baby shower or wedding, what have you?
Should I give out my home phone number?
Well, that'll be fine if you
My home phone number is area code 573-632-2225.
Okay, very good. Well, Karen, we must look at closing the program. We're just about out of time. So on behalf of JCTV Access, I want to thank you so much for contributing to Mid-Missouri Art News, making it a learning and informational experience for all. I sure have enjoyed it. Personally, I learned so much. Do you have any closing statements for our viewers worldwide?
Just to keep loving letters, appreciate your ABCs, and write real letters.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you once again. And I want to say thanks to JCTV producer Glory and Lowe and crew. And thank you, our viewers, once again, for watching the program worldwide. So look for more Mid-Missouri Art News right here on JCTV. And don't forget YouTube. I'm Rick Jey saying, see you next time.